Hello, my darlings. I hope you're doing very, very well. I hope you're sitting comfortably, you are cozy, and you have your snacks and your beverages at the ready. Before I jump into today's video, I just want to quickly introduce myself, which is very odd. I don't normally do this because I don't know why I don't. I just don't ever do it. But I'm going to be sharing this video to some relative pages on Facebook and on Reddit that have helped me tremendously with the topic that I'm going to talk about in today's video. And I want to share this video there to give people some insight and some information and just to, make people feel not so alone with something that they may be going through, or this video may be helpful to those that have loved ones that have gone through what I have gone through and just want to understand it a bit more. Because what I'm going to talk about in today's video was very isolating at times because nobody in my life knew what I was going through. Nobody could ever relate to what I was going through for a big portion of my life. And I feel like videos like this are very, very helpful. But yeah, there's going to be maybe a few people watching this video that don't know who I am and don't watch my content regularly or whatever. Or people have just stumbled across this through YouTube or whatever. I don't know. Yeah, to introduce myself, my name is Lauren. I am 35 years old. But if you think I look younger, thank you very much. I normally make tattoo related content. That is the sole thing that I focus on. So yeah, if you like tattoos, then of course you can stick around and carry on watching the rest of my content. But if tattoo related content isn't for you, then I completely understand. I think that's basically all you need to know about me, right? Like what other things are relative to this? I don't know. I live in England. That's probably helpful. And yeah, that's about it, I guess. I don't know. So in today's video, I'm going to be talking about a condition that I have called RCPD. And this is a condition that I've had my whole entire life. So what is RCPD? Well, to put it in very, very easy to understand terms, and let's be serious, if you watch my content regularly, you know I cannot pronounce anything long or fancy or medical. So let's just keep it simple to stop embarrassing myself. So yes, basically what RCPD is basically a muscle in my throat that just didn't work correctly. That's all it was. That's all RCPD is. I had a muscle in my throat that just didn't work correctly. However, because that muscle in my throat didn't work correctly, I had a world of symptoms because the muscle in my throat that didn't work didn't allow me to burp. I'm being dead serious, okay? It's very, very silly, I know, but it made my life miserable. It literally made my life miserable. So the symptoms that I had because of this is I had, first of all, this very loud gurgly noise in my throat, right? It sounded like a frog. I'll put in a clip of what it sounded like when it was very, very loud. Oh my god, that was gnarly. Yeah, that was a noise my throat made quite often, daily, multiple times an hour, especially if I had eaten or had a drink or even talked too much, taken in any type of air, my throat would start doing that. And I would only get about an hour to 2 hours of peace a day, and that's when I've just woken up. And even then, if I had fallen asleep with my mouth open and taken in a lot of air, when I would wake up, I'd be making noises, I'd have symptoms. So yeah, it was honestly kind of rare to not feel some kind of symptom of RCPD throughout my life. Other symptoms I had was extreme bloating, and not the type of bloating you get when you have eaten too much. I'm talking extreme, like it felt like there was no more room left in my stomach, like it wouldn't expand anymore. My stomach would go rock solid. I'd also have a lot of pain that would be like cramping, gas pain. I don't know if you've ever had gas pain before, but it was pretty brutal. It was pretty brutal. I'd also have a lot of breathlessness because, again, I was so full of air, it would kind of impact my lungs. I don't know if you've ever heard a pregnant person say that they're constantly out of breath because there isn't much room going on in there. That's what it felt like. I've never been pregnant, so I can't say for sure, but that's how I would imagine it to feel like. And that's just some of my symptoms. I just felt all around uncomfortable, and this was all day, every day. Again, it would get worse if I had eaten something, if I had drunk something. And with my job as well, I do a lot of talking and a lot of laughing, and I would just take in a bunch of air. And having this condition really impacted my life, of course, because again, every day I would have symptoms. I had to be incredibly careful as to what I ate and drank and how much I would talk and enjoy myself. It's also a very, very lonely condition to have. it's very, very hard to explain that your life is miserable and you're feeling awful because you can't burp. Like, people never ever took it seriously. Whenever I spoke to someone about it, you know, someone new in my life or what have you, there was always jokes made and like, oh, I bet you fart a lot. Yes, sir, I did actually. Yeah, that was another one of my symptoms. I'm sorry, but I mean, if it's not coming out this way, it's got to come out the other way, all right? Like, let's think about it. But yeah, no one ever really took it seriously, and still to this day, the majority of people in my life really did not take it seriously and didn't think that, you know, all these symptoms that I was having was that deep. And it's really lonely. It truly is incredibly lonely to have a condition that nobody knew about or nobody took seriously. And yeah, it was tough because I went through this for the majority of my life. So RCPD is actually a pretty new condition. It was only given a name back in 2019, and that's when I was 29 years old. A lot of people with RCPD go to doctors and they get misdiagnosed with stuff like IBS or GERD, heartburn, because heartburn is a symptom of RCPD. That's something that I had pretty bad as well. I still do get heartburn, but it's because I've eaten garlic or pepperoni, not because I have so much air in me, like the acid in my stomach is trying to get out somehow, or it's all like bubbling up. I don't know what was happening there, but I did have pretty bad heartburn for a few years, but now not so much. Not so much. But yeah, the majority of people that have RCPD symptoms do get misdiagnosed with other things. Chances are, if you have the majority of the RCPD symptoms, you don't actually have IBS, you actually have RCPD, because again, RCPD does give you IBS type symptoms. And still to this day, even though there is a lot more research on RCPD, and even with people knowing what RCPD is, they'll go to the doctor and say, hey, I think I have this, but then doctors are like, no, don't think so, not heard of that. So we're just going to put you through a bunch of tests that you don't actually need. So the treatment for RCPD is something so freaking simple. It's literally the most simple thing you can probably think of. It is a dose of Botox injected into the muscle that doesn't work, and then you can burp. Simple as that. So freaking easy. Some people just need one dose of 50 units and they're good to go for the rest of their life and they can burp. Some people need 2. Some people need 3. Some people need to do it for the rest of their life. It just depends how bad the muscle in your throat is, right? I myself have had the treatment, of course, otherwise I wouldn't be making this video. And again, I'll talk about my experiences with that later on in this video. So I noticed that I couldn't burp when I was about 7 years old because my sister could burp. My sister can burp, okay? And I noticed that like my sister, when she was like 3-4 years old, was like burping like a sailor, like really burping. And I remember it was one evening and we're in our front room, right? And I said to her, I was like, how do you burp? Like, how do you do it? And she just said, oh, I just do it. Like, it just comes out. And bear in mind, again, she was like 3-4 years old. And I was just like, oh, I can't do it. It's not fair. I can't do it. And she's trying to, can you imagine like a 3-4-year-old trying to teach someone how to burp? And yeah, ever since then, I noticed that my sister could burp, but I couldn't. And I thought that was very odd, right? And that's when I first noticed that I couldn't burp, about 7 years old. I also noticed around about that age that I would drink fizzy drinks and I would feel very strange in my stomach, right? My stomach would feel bloated. I didn't know what bloating was when I was 7, obviously, but I felt very bloated, very gassy. And I just thought that was normal because it was a fizzy drink. I just thought, oh, that's what fizzy drinks do to you. Again, I was 7 years old, clueless. And because I loved fizzy drinks, I would drink a fizzy drink whenever I most possibly could. As a child, you know, so I just kept drinking it, not knowing that I shouldn't feel unwell drinking a fizzy drink, right? When I got to the age of 15, this is when I started to notice the gurgling noises. That's when the gurgling noises in my throat started. And I was just a bit like, that's weird. I don't know if that's normal, but I thought it was just an internal noise. I didn't realize people could hear it outside of me because no one had ever commented on it, luckily. But people for sure heard it, okay? People for sure heard it, but no one said a word, to be honest. So that was, I'm pretty grateful for that because this was happening at a time where I was in high school. You can only imagine just what kind of comments people would make if I was surrounded by very mean people. And then I had my first bad RCPD experience when I was 18 years old. I was freshly 18. I went out to this pub club thing with my friends, and I have never been one to drink alcohol. I didn't start drinking alcohol until I was 29 years old. And even still, I've never been drunk. I'm just not an alcohol kind of person. I've just never fancied it. I don't really like the taste of it unless alcohol is masked in cocktails like strawberry daiquiris or something like that, like a fun cocktail. And I like ciders as well. Ciders are pretty fun. I like a cider. But other than that, I'm just not that fussed by alcohol. So I was drinking stuff like Red Bull, Coke, as you can imagine, fizzy, right? So I had been drinking a bunch of like Red Bull and Coke, and it was in a very hot establishment, getting dehydrated. So I kept drinking and drinking and drinking. And as you can imagine, my RCPD symptoms were getting really, really bad. So I had to go and sit outside because I was like, oh, I feel really unwell. I feel really bloated. I feel like I couldn't breathe. And it got to the point where I was like, okay, we're going home soon. I need to go home. And we'll walk into the taxi, and I started gagging, right? Because there was so much air inside of me. My body was trying to expel it. It was trying to get rid of it in any way it most possibly could. And luckily for me, nothing happened. I didn't actually fully like throw up or anything like that. Like nothing actually happened, but there was gaggy feelings happening. Okay, sorry if this is triggering to anyone. I'm a emetophobic as well, by the way. I just thought I'd throw that out there. And there is a correlation between RCPD and those that are emetophobic. So you either have RCPD because you're born with it, which is what I think I am because I've never been able to burp. And you can give yourself RCPD if you are emetophobic, because some people correlate burping with throwing up, so you kind of resist burping. But I didn't become emetophobic until I was like 8 or 9 years old. So RCPD for me came first. Anyway, so yeah, I was panicking when I went on this night out when I was 18 years old. And I'd been down in loads of Coke and Red Bull and all of that, right? So that was my first bad experience. But again, this was when I was 18. I had absolutely no idea what was wrong with me. I just thought, fuck, I've drank too much Red Bull and my body is having a weird reaction. I didn't know it was because I had this thing wrong with me. And ever since that night, my RCPD symptoms just started to get worse and worse and worse, and it just started to affect me more and more and more. And there was so many days out that were ruined because of my RCPD. So I would go out on trips to London, and I would, go out for food with my best friend, and we go to the cinema and all of that. And by the time I came home, oh my God, I was in so much pain. I was so bloated. I was so gassy. It was just miserable. It got to the point where I started to dread going on full days out. The days where, again, I would go out, I'd eat, I'd be talking a lot, I'd be laughing a lot, walking around as well. Literally anything where you take air in would make me miserable. There was a time where I went to the London Tattoo Convention and I literally had to go to the medical room so I could lay down. I had to go lay down because that was the only way that I could feel better, is laying on my back. I don't know why, but it really did help move things along quicker, if that makes sense. So I had to lay down in a medical room at a tattoo convention. I've also had to lay down in the middle of Canary Wharf. I'm being so serious. I had really, really bad hiccups, which is another symptom of RCPD. They're very, very violent, very, very painful. And I had that while I was walking around London, and I just said to my best friend, I need to lay down. I have got to lay down. And that's obviously incredibly awkward. And there's been so many scenarios where I felt like I had to lay down and I couldn't because I was out in the middle of doing whatever. I was shopping. You can't just lay down on a floor in a store because you're going to be carted away, right? Which is probably would have been beneficial for me. And yeah, there were so many days out and events where I was just in misery. I was in pain, I was over it, and I just wanted to go home. And this was all happening in my younger years, when I was 18, 19, 20, early 20s, going into my mid 20s, into my late 20s. There was so many times where days out were ruined for me, and that breaks my heart still to this day. I don't think I'll ever get over that. I don't think I'll ever get over the fact that I have spent all of my fun years miserable, because I'm never gonna get those years back, and it sucks. It really fucking sucks, and it's not something, again, that I'll ever forget. And yeah, it sucks. It does suck. I think I was in my early 20s to mid 20s when I started to figure out that the reason why I felt like garbage is because I couldn't burp. But I thought there's just no way. Like the fact that I can't burp shouldn't be having this much impact on me. Maybe there's something else wrong with me. Like, I don't know, my stomach's a mess. I've got a backwards stomach. You know, maybe my actual stomach is lower down than most people's or higher up, or I don't know. I was coming up with all of these theories, and I had Googled a few times back then, back in like early 2010s and all of that, you know, I can't burp and it's giving me symptoms, and then nothing would really come up until 2018. I Googled again because I went on a day out or something and I was pissed off. I was having symptoms. I come home and Google, like, why the fuck do I feel like garbage? I'm having symptoms because I can't burp and stuff like that. And then finally, the subreddit page called No Burp come up, and it had a few thousand people in there talking about the fact that they can't burp and they get symptoms because of it. And I was reading all of these people's stories and symptoms, and I was just like, oh my God, that's me. That is me. All of these people are saying the exact same thing as what I experience and what I feel like on a daily basis. And I couldn't believe it. For the first time in my whole life, when I was 28 years old, I felt like I wasn't alone. I was like, oh my God, there's other people that feel like this. I'm not a weirdo. Like, I'm not the only person that feels like this. Because I thought I was going to spend the rest of my life feeling the way I did by myself, you know? And it was just the most enlightening feeling knowing that I wasn't the only person that felt the way I did. I can't even explain just what that felt like. And when I come across the No Burp Reddit page, this was at a time where a couple of ENT doctors were testing out treatment for this. So there's one doctor called Dr. Bastan, or Bastain, I am saying that wrong, I do apologise. And he somehow discovered this disorder. I don't know how, I haven't really looked into his origin story, but he was working on a treatment for RCPD. I guess he had a few patients talk about some symptoms and what have you, and he was looking into it, doing research, and he kind of come up with the method of, let's try putting some Botox in this muscle to relax it and make it work the way it's meant to. And he was successful with that, and he had patients, you know, have good success with this. And some of his patients had talked about their experience with Botox in the Reddit subreddit page and all of that, and people were like, oh my God, I'm desperate to have this. People were flying to this doctor from all around the world to get treatment. And I was like, wow, okay, this is incredible. There may be a light at the end of the tunnel. But again, this was quite early days. And I kept my eye on the No Burp subreddit for months, and I was, you know, keeping up with people's stories and experiences and people that were getting treatment for it. And then I think towards the tail end of 2018, 2019, I started to notice that people were being treated for RCPD in London, in the UK, because an ENT specialist decided to, you know, try this method himself as well. And I was like, oh my God, I might be able to do this. But then I noticed that to have Botox injected into your throat from this ENT specialist, you have to be put under general anesthetic, and it's a private treatment, so it's expensive. And I thought, nah, that's never ever gonna happen. I never want to be put under general anesthesia. I also do not have, you know, £3,000, £4,000, £5,000 to spend on this, and I'm just not worth it, don't want any part of it. So I just carried on, you know, snooping around this Reddit page and just reading people's experiences and thinking, well, it's not for me, whatever, I'll just live miserably for the rest of my life, because it would only affect me if I'd been out all day. It wasn't something that would affect me all day, every day. Well, it did. I still had symptoms all day, every day, but they weren't super bad unless I did a full day out or what have you. So I was just like, oh, well, I'll just have to deal with it, right? That was until November 2022. This is when my RCPD got chronic. This is when the symptoms that I would get from being out all day, talking, eating, laughing, whatever, was happening all day, every day. All day, every day, I was in so much pain. All day, every day, I had cramping. All day, every day, I had gurgly, loud noises, like super loud, very, very loud noises. I was breathless all the time. I couldn't do anything. It got to the point where I literally was eating one meal a day. I barely drank anything. I dropped about 2 stone in weight. I don't know what that is in pounds, but I dropped like 2 stone pretty quickly because I just couldn't eat anything. I couldn't function like a normal human being. I would have to like basically starve myself if I wanted to do something that day because the symptoms were so bad. It wasn't worth me making them worse by eating, drinking, laughing, talking. And again, as you can imagine with my job, talking, by the time I filmed one video, I was done. I was so done, but I had to keep going because I had to keep filming. Like it's what I do. So I went to an NHS doctor and told them about my symptoms and was like, this is, you know, what's going on with me, in hopes that they would treat me, in hopes that they would know what was wrong with me. And they were like, oh no, it sounds like you have an infection. Sorry? You think I have an infection? You think I've had an infection for like 32 years of my life, because I was 32 at this time. What? I'd be dead. If I had an infection for 32 years, I would be dead. What do you mean? Because I told the doctor I'd had this, you know, these symptoms for the whole of my life. Oh, yeah, no, you have an infection. What? There's a muscle in my throat that's not working. What do you mean? I felt so deflated and so defeated at that point because I was just like, I'm never going to get this fixed. Like, I'm going to feel like this forever. And again, I was having symptoms all day, every day, chronically. I was chronically unwell, miserable. So I was obviously feeling incredibly helpless. And at this point, it was 3 or 4 years after I discovered, you know, the No Burp subreddit page, and a lot more awareness for RCPD had happened. And there was one more doctor in the whole of the UK that was treating RCPD, and her name is Lucy Hicklin. And Lucy Hicklin does Botox injected into your throat, through your throat, instead of going down into your throat like the other doctor did, who had to knock you out to do it. And you were awake for the treatment that Lucy did. So I'd kept my eye on her, and I was like, maybe one day I'll do that. Again, it was still pretty expensive, but not as expensive as being knocked out in a private hospital expensive. So after being told by an NHS doctor that I have an infection, I was like, no, screw this. I'm going to go and see this Lucy lady in London and have her, you know, diagnose me and treat me. So I finally booked that, and I was terrified. Absolutely terrified, because I had read some horror stories on the No Burp subreddit page of people having the Botox treatment and them having terrible side effects because of the Botox, and I was just very, very anxious because one of my anxiety triggers is health related things, anything to do with doctors, hospitals, needles. I know that doesn't make sense because I'm so tattooed, but yeah, medical needles freak me the fuck out. So I was very, you know, anxious for the side effects and the fact that I'm emetophobic also, because one of my biggest fears for being able to burp is the fact that I thought if I could now burp, that means I'm now going to be throwing up all the time. That's where my brain went. That's just the brain of an emetophobic, and that's something that's very common among those that do have RCPD. A lot of people don't get treatment because they're scared they're going to start throwing up all the time, and it's touching wood right now. I've, spoiler alert, I've had the Botox 4 times now. I've not thrown up this whole time. I've not thrown up. I'm good. So March 2023 rolls around, and this is when I saw Lucy Hicklin in her Chelsea clinic in London. We started off by having a consultation, and let me tell you, that was a breath of fresh air. Talking to a medical professional who knew about RCPD, and she knew the symptoms and, you know, asked, oh, do you have this? Do you have that? And I was just like, oh my God, she knows about RCPD. Wow, okay, this is incredible. So after the consultation, she basically did diagnose me with RCPD because I fit the criteria very, very well. So that's when I was officially diagnosed with RCPD, even though I had self-diagnosed many years before that. Then Lucy injected me with 50 units of Botox. And the way she does it, again, is through the throat. So she just like stabs you with a needle with Botox in the right position. And you are connected to I don't know what machine it is, and I've completely forgotten the name of it, but you're connected to a machine and it registers sound waves or something. I don't know how it works, okay, I do apologise. But the needle is connected to a machine somehow, right? And she gets you to sniff, swallow, and then she figures out if she's in the right place to inject when she has the needle inside of you. It's kind of awkward, it's kind of weird to be doing all of this with a needle sticking into your throat. But I've been through worse. I have my neck tattooed. I've been through worse. The Botox injection was over and done with very, very quickly. I think it took maximum 5-ish minutes, if that. And that's like the whole thing of her sticking sticky pads to me and, you know, sticking the needle in and moving it about here, there and everywhere and get me to sniff and swallow and all of that, right? And it wasn't painful by any means. Like, it just felt weird. I could feel the Botox going in. My throat area felt kind of tight. That's about it, really. Again, I've been through worse because I have my neck tattooed. If you're like a regular person that hasn't been tattooed a lot, you may find it a little bit painful or more so just uncomfortable. Yeah, I'd say it's just a little bit uncomfortable. So yeah, I had 50 units of Botox injected into me, and unfortunately for me, it didn't really work for me. I had about 3 micro burps, which is just very, very small burps or small little puffs of air. And I did have quite a lot of side effects. The main side effect that most people do get with the Botox treatment is slow swallow. And I had that. And that basically means that when you swallow food, it just is very slow to go down. You can kind of feel it go down. It feels like it might get stuck, but all you need to do is just chase it with some water and then you are like good to go. You'll be fine. Some people do have it a bit more extreme than that, but for me, I just had what I want to call average slow swallow. Like I knew I had it, but it wasn't anything too terrifying or scary. I did have other side effects as well. One that bothered me a little bit is breathlessness, like more than normal. Because obviously I had breathlessness with my RCPD anyway, because I was full of air, but this time it felt more up here. It felt like I was just constantly like out of breath, you know, just talking. I was out of breath. And again, with my job, I have to talk a lot. I was so out of breath. It was a nightmare, honestly. I also felt like I was taking in way more air because my throat was Botoxed open. So I was taking in even more air, and because I couldn't burp because the Botox dose wasn't the correct Botox dose, my RCPD symptoms were even worse. So I was just like, oh no, like this is not going well for me. I was losing hope. I was literally losing hope, but luckily, I could have another 100 units. So in July of 2023, I had 100 units with Lucy. I had similar side effects with the slow swallow, breathlessness. I felt like I was taking in way more air and I couldn't really get the air out to start off with. But I could kind of burp. And I thought at the time I was actually burping, but it turns out it was not really burping. But I was making the noise of a burp, and sometimes it did have taste or like an air consistency to it. It turns out that I wasn't really burping properly, but I took it as a win because I felt better. I did feel better. I didn't have so many RCPD symptoms. You know, for a few months after I had that 100 unit Botox, I was just like, you know what, this will do. Yes, I still have some bloating. Yes, I still have some gurgling noises. Yes, sometimes I struggle to get whatever burp I'm doing out. But yeah, I just took it as a win. I was like, yes, okay, my life is back on track. Let's go. And I started planning on doing things. I started doing days out again with my best friend, who, by the way, has been an angel throughout most of this. She's been so patient because there's been so many times where we've made plans and then I've had to cancel because I've been feeling like garbage, or I've just been like, no, can't do it. I can't burp. But yeah, I started to kind of plan my life again. Me and my best friend went to Disneyland Paris, but before we went on this trip, I think it was before, yeah. So we went December time, 2023. And then I think in November time, that's when I started to feel like the Botox in my throat was kind of wearing off. I started to struggle again, but I was just like, I might be okay. But to be safe, I decided to book another Botox appointment for the next following year, for March 2024, just in case. And I thought, if I end up not needing it, it's fine. I can just cancel it, but it's better to have it than not, because Lucy books out months in advance. I think it's even worse now because more and more people are becoming aware of RCPD and the fact that there is treatment. So anyway, I kind of cautiously booked another appointment because I felt like the Botox in my throat was wearing off and I was just having a few symptoms here and there. But yeah, anyway, me and my best friend went to Disneyland Paris in December of 2023, and it was okay. It was bearable. I had some symptoms, but I just tried my best to get on with it. You know, I didn't struggle too much. I just was a bit cautious of, you know, what I was eating and what I was doing, but I managed to, you know, get through that trip pretty dang well. And because I was doing okay and the symptoms were kind of manageable, I also booked a trip to Canada for February 2024, and I went with my boyfriend, Tom. So we went to Canada. And this was when my RCPD symptoms were definitely coming back. Like, it was getting worse and worse, you know, from December to February. Ooh, it was not good. It was not good. But I still went on the trip and I still had such a good time. It was literally a trip of a lifetime. I'd wanted to go to Canada for a very, very, very long time. And we went to Alberta, we stayed in Canmore, and we went to places like Banff, Lake Louise, Calgary, and Edmonton. Like, we just did a full week of so much fun stuff. And yes, I did struggle a little bit, and I had to be very careful on what I ate, how much I talked, how much I enjoyed myself. So that kind of sucked, but it still one of the best trips I've ever been on, and it's my favourite place in the world. And by March 2024, RCPD back in full swing. Back in full swing. I couldn't burp anymore. That completely wore off. And luckily I had an appointment coming up, so I just had to wait a couple of months. And I got another 100 units injected into my throat. And I had the same kind of side effects, breathlessness, taking in way more air and not being able to get rid of that air to start off with, cramping, bloating, all of that fun stuff, breathlessness. And there was an array of other side effects that were not that great. But I thought it's all worth it, because once these side effects wear off, the side effects lasted for me for about a month to 6 weeks-ish. The first initial like bad side effects. That's when the Botox is at its strongest, because Botox lasts in your throat for about 3 to 6 months depending on who you are as a person. And for me, the Botox is, you know, very strong the first sort of 3 months, but the side effects are strongest for the first month to 2 months. Unfortunately for me though, my third dose of Botox wasn't that great. It lasted about 2 to 3 months, and then I couldn't really do much burping anyway. Like, yeah, I got some relief, but it wasn't that great. It just didn't work that well for me at all, the third 100 units. And this is when I started to feel very, very hopeless. I was just like, what the fuck can I do now? Like, 100 units isn't working for me. It's not working long time. I'm not getting good results with this. So I did email Lucy's assistant. That's how I, you know, booked in with her and what have you. I corresponded with her assistant. But yeah, I emailed Lucy's assistant one evening because, again, I was back to square one. I couldn't burp. I was bloated. I remember the moment vividly. Tom had come home from work with a chocolate cake and I remember eating it and then, you know, drinking some fizzy drink and just feeling miserable and in pain. I was just like, wow, I'm really back here again. And at this point I had spent quite a bit of money. I'd spent quite a bit of money, and the fact that I was still just not 100% really deflated me, like, so freaking much. And I just remember just sending this email, just being so hopeless, being like, is there any way Lucy could do a higher dose than 100 units? And I knew the answer already from doing my research. I knew the maximum dose that Lucy will do through your throat like this was 100 units, but I was just hoping and praying that she would pick me and be like, you know what, Lauren, yes, I will risk it all for you. And of course, she's a professional, she's not going to do that, but I was just hoping and praying. And her assistant got back to me and was just like, no, we can't do higher than 100 units, but I will refer you to someone else in London that does it, but it's under general anesthesia. And the doctor's name is Mr. Karagama. And this is the doctor that was the first doctor in the UK to treat RCPD, which was the doctor that I spoke about earlier. And I was like, yep, I just knew it. I just freaking knew it. I knew that after all of this, I would have to do what I didn't want to do, which was be put under general anesthetic, which is one of my biggest fears. I hate being out of control of my body, which is another anxiety trigger for me. And that's another reason why I don't like drink alcohol, because I just don't want to be out of control of my body. So I really sat on that for a while, and I was just like, yeah, no, I'm just gonna have to do it. I'm just gonna have to do it. I'm gonna have to literally bite the bullet, face my biggest fear, and get the Botox done under anesthesia so I could have a higher dose. So I had a telephone consultation with Mr. Karagama. He knew I'd already been treated, so he didn't need to do a full in-person consultation, luckily. He was kind of like, I'll phone you, we'll talk on the phone, and we'll talk about your experience with Botox and what we need to do to help you get the results you need, kind of thing. So within that telephone consultation, he was like, okay, will do the 150 units, because I thought I may need 200 units, which is a very, very high amount, and that's not normally given to many people, only to those that really do struggle. So he said 150 units will be fine for you. And I was like, okay, like I kind of thought, knowing my luck, probably not. I'm going to have to do this surgery 1,000 times. But I trusted him, and I'm so glad I did. I'm so glad I trusted him. So I was then booked in for October 4th, 2024. And as you can probably tell by this upload date, that was over a year ago now. That day was terrifying. The night before, got no sleep. I think I slept for like 2-3 hours, if not less than that, to be honest. The admission was straightforward. The hospital was lovely. I went to Blackheath Hospital in London. Again, it's a private hospital. The nurses there were so freaking lovely. They could tell straight away that I was basically shitting myself. Like, I'm definitely afraid. Definitely afraid, shaking, pale, unwell, just so anxious, so scared. And the whole day went by so quickly. Like, so quickly. Like, I was waiting around in my hospital room for about 2 hours. No, I think it was a bit longer than that, actually. I think about 3 hours I was waiting around in the hospital room to go down into the surgery room and what have you. Again, it's not surgery, but I was put under general anesthetic, so I don't know what to call it. I do have a more in-depth video about my experience with this whole general anesthetic, Botox procedure, and everything else that I've talked about, because I have documented this whole journey. I have a playlist. I will leave a link down below, because I don't want to go into too much detail, because I'm gonna miss bits out. I already know I've missed out a lot talking about, you know, a general experience of RCPD for me. But if you want to know like the full details, my full experience, then I will obviously leave a link down below to my RCPD playlist. But yeah, I went down for surgery, was shitting bricks. My heart rate did not fall below 100 on that day. It didn't. I'm not being dramatic. Tom noticed it and was like, fucking hell. She really is fucking scared. So I had the surgery. I woke up and I was pretty groggy to start off with. I was kind of in and out of sleep for a little while. It was really hard to fight it. But I was so proud of myself for facing my biggest fear of going under general anesthesia, because I honestly never thought I would do it. I was determined to go through my whole life without going under general anesthesia. I just put it out there. And I knew that from like the age of 12. But when I was fully conscious and aware of what was going on around me and stuff, and realised, oh, I actually survived, because I thought I was going to die, I basically just had like a very sore throat. Like my throat felt kind of just scratchy, sore, irritated. But that was to be expected, because I was put under general anesthetic and I just had an injection of 150 units of Botox in my throat. Of course it's gonna hurt. And I went home on the same day. I think I was out of the hospital by 2:30 p.m, something like that. And I felt fine for the first 2 or so days. I had my standard side effects of breathlessness, taking in way more air than I felt like I could get rid of, some bloating and all of that. And then some pretty gnarly side effects started happening. That was not nice. And I had to deal with these side effects for months. For months and months and months. I didn't start feeling better from my side effects until February time. One of the side effects I didn't have before was the fact that I literally just couldn't lay down. I had to sleep on my sofa for months, because luckily we have a recliner chair downstairs. So I slept on there for months and months and months. So that was fun. And the reason why I had to do that is because if I was to lay down and sleep, I would wake up choking. It was awful. It was a terrible, terrible time in my life. Like it was bad. Kind of ruined my life for a little bit there. Please don't let my experience put you off, because it was obviously a very rare side effect. And I hadn't had it with my other Botoxes. It just happened to be that one. Why, I don't know. But the whole choking situation was basically a I don't know how to say this out loud. I will type it down here, but it was a laryngeospasm or something, which is a side effect of having Botox injected into your throat. That was an experience, but it luckily started to wear off around about, again, I want to say like January, February, March time. Around about January, I started to have a few nights here and there where I wasn't waking up so much. And then February, it did start to get better. And then March time, was it March? Yeah, around about March time, me and Tom went to Greece. I kind of just risked it all. I was just like, I booked a holiday for Tom's birthday and Christmas present to Greece, because, you know, he likes Greek stuff. And I did take that risk, and I was like, oh, I'm sure I'll be fine by then. And I kind of was. I don't know if I I think I may have woke up a couple of times, but sometimes I would wake up and I could feel it about to happen, but I don't know how, but I managed to like stop it from happening. or I just start having like a massive coughing fit, and that might have happened, I don't remember. I haven't had like a choking episode in months now, but still to this day I get this like twinge in my throat and I'm like, oh, here we go, it's gonna happen, but it doesn't. I still get this like spasm feeling in my throat. It's very, very odd. So that was like the downsides of the 150 unit Botox. It was brutal. It was yeah, bad. However, during all of this terribleness, I could burp, and I don't mean little burps or noises coming from my throat that sounded like burps or little puffs of air. I mean burp. I can burp, and still to this day I can still burp. Again, a year on from surgery, I can burp. I can still do it. I barely get any symptoms anymore. The only time I do get some very, very minuscule symptoms is if I'm doing a day like today. So this is the third video I've filmed, and I've been recording so far for over an hour now. The video before this that I recorded was over an hour long, and the video before that was over an hour long. So I've been talking for like over 3 hours at this point. So I've taken in so much freaking air, and that makes me feel a little bit bloaty and a little bit like gassy. Instead of needing to go and lay down and retire for the night after filming, I can, if I wanted to, I could go out to the pub, I could go out for dinner, I could go hang with my best friend, I could go cinema, I could do whatever the fuck I want, because I really am not struggling that much. I just feel just a little bit bloated, but it is also like 7:20, and I am, you know, in my 30s now. My digestive tract isn't what it once used to be. And the thing is, my digestive tract has always been garbage because I've never been able to burp. So it's been through some things. It's maybe going to take a few years for everything to become normal, you know? Now that I can burp, my digestive tract is just like, what the fuck is going on? There's not loads of air in here. What the fuck? But yeah, I just feel like a little bit bloated. But I've also eaten today. Which is crazy. Me and Tom went out to Morrison's earlier and we got a salad bar. It had a big, you know, salad thing and full of pasta and what have you for lunch. And I had some chicken strips as well from the like the chicken counter in Morrison's. I've been drinking Dr. Pepper fizzy and I feel fine. Ah. But on a regular day where I'm not talking for hours on end, I feel normal. Whatever normal may be, I feel completely fine. Completely fine. Like I can go out with my best friend and we can go out for a day. I can have food, we can go shopping, we can have more food, more drink. I don't have to be cautious. I don't have to limit how much I laugh, how much I talk. My life is so normal. It's so bizarre. I can't believe I'm here after everything I've been through for however many years. I cannot believe I'm living life like a normal person. Like I still get anxious about, you know, eating. Yesterday, Tom come home from work and he was like, what should we have for lunch tomorrow? And I was like, oh, I've got a film tomorrow, so I don't know. Hang on, wait a minute. No, I can eat what I want. He went, yes, you can eat what you want. Because before I could burp like I can now, I would have to be so careful of what I would eat before I would film. And for the most part, I wouldn't eat at all. I would film a bunch of videos hungry, which was a fucking nightmare because my stomach would be growling, and then because there was air building up in my stomach, it would go to my throat and then my throat would start making noise. And filming videos with all of this noise happening with a microphone so close to me was an absolute nightmare. I can't even tell you the hours upon hours upon hours of footage I've had to cut out of videos where my body is making a noise. And I don't have to do that anymore. All I have to do now is cut out the burps. And obviously in some videos I do leave the odd burp in every now and then. And it's so nice that there are so many people that comment the most insane things. Because if an outsider was to look at my comment section anytime I burp in a video, people would be like, what the fuck? Why are people celebrating her burping? But because I documented this whole journey, there's so many people that celebrate my burps and it's just so funny. And yeah, I just can't believe like a year on how different my life is, and I can't believe I get to sit here and say I'm cured. Because the consensus on Reddit is if you're still burping after a year, of Botox, you're cured. You are basically cured. I never ever thought I would ever get to say I'm cured from RCPD. Now, there is every chance that it can come back. There have been people that have been cured and then 2 or 3 years later, for whatever reason, they start to have RCPD symptoms again and their throat just misbehaves and they have to get Botox. And that's very, very possible for me. But I don't want to dwell on it too much, because if I do that, well, I'll probably give myself RCPD. I've been living the past few months just gratefully, is that the right word? I've been taking every day as it comes and been grateful for every day that I haven't had terrible symptoms. My throat is getting so dry. I'm fine. It's just too much talking. So yeah, I take every day as it comes and I'm grateful for every day. Like, again, like I was saying, I spent the majority of my life not living life to my fullest because I was worried about, you know, the symptoms that I would get and how it would make my life miserable. And the fact that I don't have to worry about that now is just, I don't think I'll ever put into words just how grateful I am. And yeah, it wasn't until I started to actually fully function like a normal human being that I realised just how bad it was. Like I actually just can't believe that I went through everything I went through and, you know, wasn't spending my whole life laying in bed all the time. And like I struggle with anxiety, as you know, and I do have depression as well, but I'm like high functioning depression. Like I'm quite a high functioning depressed person. But I'm so surprised that I managed to make it out the other end. Like, because I'm looking back now and I'm like, bloody hell, it was so bad. I shouldn't have had to spend over 30 years of my life feeling the way I did. I just shouldn't have. Like, that is just insane, especially as it is just such a simple fix. I will happily stand by the fact that RCPD treatment needs to be looked at and funded by the NHS immediately, quickly, because I was very, very fortunate in the fact that I could afford to get the treatment because of, you know, the job I do. Like, if it wasn't for, not to get like all sappy and like emotional and, you know, like, oh, but if it wasn't for my job, and if it wasn't for the people watching this video right now, I would never have been able to afford the treatment. I would never have been able to afford £6,000 on this. No way. It would have taken me years to save up to do that if I was still working in retail, because I worked in retail before doing content creating full time. I'm so sorry. So yeah, there's so many people out there that need the treatment for RCPD that just can't have it because it's just so fucking expensive, and the fact that NHS just don't take it seriously. There's a few NHS doctors that are aware of it now, per me looking into it through the Reddit subreddit page and what have you, but getting booked in with them, good luck. And also they're so spread out, it's just not attainable. Every single NHS doctor should be aware of RCPD and should be referring people to ENT specialists that do Botox treatment, but that's not the case. The majority of people have to go private, and that's not cool, because again, like I said earlier, so many people get misdiagnosed, and all it is a simple treatment. It literally is such a simple fix, a little bit of Botox, bam, done. So yeah, I do hope that things do change very, very quickly, because there's just so many people that are unaware that they have RCPD, or the fact that they are aware but can't afford treatment. There has been so many stories I've read from people that are in their 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s that have lived with this their whole life. And if they felt the way I did, oh God, I'm just so grateful that, yes, I spent, you know, 30 years of my life or more in misery at times, but I'm so glad that hopefully from, you know, being 35 onwards, I get to enjoy my life a bit more, you know, like I hope anyway. That's basically everything I think I need to say. I know this video is incredibly long, but I hope that this video helps one person. I hope it makes at least one person feel not so alone. I hope it gives at least maybe one person some hope that they will eventually come out the other side. I hope this video also creates some kind of awareness for RCPD. I just hope that this video has been helpful to, again, one person. One person, that's all I ask for when I make videos about RCPD. I mean, I haven't made a video about my RCPD situation in a little while now because, well, I mean, it's been pretty smooth sailing for a little while now. So I thought I would do an update for, you know, the fact that I'm a year post surgery, whatever you want to call it, and it's still going well. And I'm still burping. Oh gosh, I'm not bored of it yet. I don't think I'll ever get bored. I will never get bored. To an outsider, anytime I burp, I must be the most rudest, disgusting person of all time. But there I am in restaurants, burping, not giving a flying fuck, laughing. 35-year-old woman laughing at the fact that she's burping. But people don't know that I spent the majority of my life not being able to do that, not having that luxury. Literally, burping is a luxury, just so you all know. The fact that the majority of people watching this right now have been able to burp, I'm assuming, you don't know how lucky you are. Like, honestly, I know that sounds so weird. Could you imagine? I spent many years being jealous of people that could burp. Anyway, my darlings, I just want to say thank you so much for being here and hanging out with me for a little while. I appreciate you all so freaking much. And until my next video, there won't be as much burping talk. Well, I mean, I can't make promises. But yeah, anyway, until my next video, stay safe, stay well, and until my next video, bye!